I think without flaws, there is no magic. When you think of the black listener, you don't automatically say, oh, black people could just like anything. You just automatically think it's going to be rap and R&B. This is Chiiild, and you're tuned in with Carbon Sound. I am a kid out of Montreal, Chiiild, Ethiopian, moved to LA, just a person that loves new experiences. I'm here to perform. A croissant, like most mornings. I did. It's usually cold brew with a little oat milk or whole milk. See, I kind of don't want to give it away because then people are going to know where I'm at. It's an Argentinian coffee spot on Ventura, but I won't give you the name. Well, I'd say in the U.S., specifically in L.A., I feel like the conversations that you have with people, when you share your idea, you're usually met with support to a degree, specifically in L.A. In Canada, I think there's a level of you have to see it to believe it that you can experience at times. So I just think we're all products of our environment, and the environment that, it's obviously I can't generalize, but the environment I came from versus the environment that I'm in that's how it's represented. When I think of a really studied artist or musician that is able to execute their idea flawlessly, I think without flaws, there is no magic. Now, when you're someone that is tapped in, have a base of music experience, and you just kind of stumble and find yourself into something beautiful, that just speaks to me, and I feel like there's more room for creativity when you're that type of creative. So that's just what speaks to me. I mean, when I think of just like hip hop in general, to me, you're just kind of searching, you're like sampling, you're using your ears to create instead of just like going to school and being fully educated and mastering it's not like, I mean, you know what, I guess maybe it's the difference between classical and jazz to a degree. There's more room for improvisation. In terms of artists, when you think of just other producers like the Timbalands, the Kanyes, the Pharrells, you look at these guys are not traditionally kind of the music scholars, if you want to call it, but yet they're like musical savants, and their creations are always so creative. I would say, it's one of those things that takes on more of a meaning the more you live with it, but all your emotions and your experience and how you process life is fueled by your inner child. The excitement that you get when someone says something to you or you see something that you like is also fueled by your inner child. And all things creative come from your inner child. And so, yeah, it's like if you ask me who's making the music, it's your inner child. You make sure that you keep room to play, and you make sure that you're still excitable. I think there's a lot of people that lose the ability to be excited. I love that excitability. When you meet someone that's easily excited, I think that's truly beautiful. Just good friends, my puppy, it's like, I don't know, I think it might just be in my nature. I've just always wanted to enjoy that life that I'm living, no matter how difficult the times are or how good they are. It's like I try to find like the joy in the little things. Yeah, I got this mini Labradoodle called Maestro, and I get to go see him tomorrow, which I'm very excited about. He's just, he just wants to play, wants to run around all the time. It's like one of those decisions I made in the pandemic, and the best decision of my life, for sure. Yeah, I think we can get in our own way. The way we process how life kind of impacts us is really 90% of our experience, So I think it's really important that we remain optimistic as best as possible. Life is kind of hard already, so I would rather not be troubled with other people's experiences, in the sense that, like, I don't want you to tell me what can go wrong. I want to remain as stoic as possible in order to enjoy what's in front of me and be able to deal with it. I mean, a lot of it is real, but my favorite line is on Bon Voyage when I just say everybody's out here on the same thing and we're just out here levitating. I think it's playful, but it's also kind of an observation. It kind of sums up what I've been observing just as a fan of music. You know, you get a lot of the same thing, just packaged slightly differently. You know, we talk about music and the arts as a creative arts, and yet we don't fully celebrate creativity. And I find that a little bit, like, odd. I just think that when you think of the Black listener in general from the outside, it's like you automatically decide what they're going to like and what we're going to like. And I think that that's really just wrong because, you know, like my personal taste and my friends' taste, this group of my Black friends and this group of my Black friends, it's like we all have we love different things. You know, we obsess over the underdogs and we obsess over, like, you know, R&B bridges and all these different things. And then we also obsess over Incubus and Arcade Fire and Linkin Park. And when you think of the Black listener, you don't automatically say, oh, Black people could just like anything. You just automatically think it's going to be rap and R&B. And I think that that's slightly, it's kind of flawed. And so when it's just, I don't know, it's one of those things that's just kind of humming in the background. It's hard to, like, quantify, if you know what I mean. I love Collision Course. Collision Course was like, I was already listening to, like, Blueprint, and I was already, like, listening to Reasonable Doubt. And then getting, you know, and then being a fan of Hybrid Theory, Meteora, and those records, it's like when Collision Course happened, it was just like an album made for me. Like, truly, I'm not sure I've ever felt that connected to music. And it was just like one of those things where I was like, man, this is the coolest thing I've ever experienced. And it worked so well. There's a lot of artists that I love. I think the music that we're making is already the Collision Course to a degree. So when you ask me who can, you know, whose other record or can we collaborate with, or which other voice or artist, it's hard because the Chiild in itself is Collision Course. I'm gonna go with no for the most part. You know, most things are pretty positive for the most part, you know. And then whenever there's something negative, I'm kind of intrigued more than anything. I try to, like, game it. I'm like, well, who is this? Why are they saying this? And does it have any merit? And if it does, then cool. If not, I'll just go back to playing with my puppy. I mean, that stuff never comes into the studio. It's just more of like a conversation that you're having. And it's not something that you do all the time. You know, I'm not obsessed over that stuff. It's just from time to time, it's nice to know what people think. The pentatonic scale, and just there's this album called by this artist named Gigi, and then there's the illuminated audio version, which is kind of like a meditative version of that same album. Like, that album did really a lot for me. When you think of all the spatial sounds and some of the vocal inflections, a lot of that is influenced by Ethiopian music. Mostly Gigi. Then there's the classics like Talahun and Aster and all those other artists, and Alamayo Shate, and you know, just there's like a laundry list of artists. Mulatu, we can, you know, Hailu. I mean, there's just so many artists, but that one album is clearly the one that spoke to me. It was the one that, again, its Collision Course. It wasn't traditional by any means. It was really, it's kind of experimental in a weird way, and I thought it was cool. Dorowet for sure, which is basically a chicken stew, and it's just like, you know, they cook it over a few days, and it's just, yeah, it's like the most warm and grounded dish, I would argue. I mean, if it's not at home, it would be at Meals by Gannett on Fairfax. She's incredible. She actually catered an event, like the album listening, and there was a lot of Dorowet to be available. So my piece of advice would be, there's a moment where you start pursuing, whether it be production or anything artistic. Then there's that moment where you feel like you're really good at it. At that moment, it's important that you get out of your environment and enter a new environment and come to the realization that maybe you're not as good as you thought you were, and then actually get good, and then repeat as quickly as possible, and then maybe you have a chance. That's what keeps the growth happening, because you're a product of your environment. It's like you might be really good in this room, but then you'll go into another room and there's going to be someone better, and that's the most inspiring thing. It's meant to keep you humble. That collaboration, that jumping from, we're in Minneapolis right now, and then you go to LA and then you meet so-and-so, and then that person shows you something that you've just never seen through collaboration, and that begins that process of growth. And the faster you can kind of go through that, the more likely you are to succeed, in my opinion. Peace is probably the most important thing to me. I want to have as much stillness in my life as possible, because, like I said, it's a turbulent, it's just for everyone, so we have ups and downs, and I think, and you can't control the life that you live, but what I value the most is just like a good cup of coffee, some family time, and I'm a fan of music, and so it's just like, listening to new music, being inspired, just in stillness. I just want, that's what I value the most.